Call the meeting to order. Regular meeting Monday, May 8th, 2023, 5:30 p.m. Greater Victoria Mass Transit District. Regular board meeting. Roll call, please.
Okay, Trustee Ahart.
Present.
Trustee Sterling Polk.
Present.
Trustee Hare.
Present.
Trustee McBride.
Present.
Trustee Knox.
Present.
Everybody to stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright. Next item is the Board of Trustees annual election.
That would be me.
Yes, ma'am.
So you all have a slate of officers that we have talked about. I'm going to read them and then, do you ask for nominations?
Yes.
Okay. Our slate of officers will be Mr. Ahart as chair, Patty Sterling Polk as vice chair, Don Knox as secretary, Jeff Hare as treasurer, and Sharon McBride as trustee. So that's the slate of officers that we're submitting for today.
Okay. Do we need to do this one by one, or can we do them all as presented by? As presented, okay. Okay. As heard by Trustee Polk, can I get a motion to proceed with myself as chair, vice chair is Trustee Polk, secretary is Trustee Knox, treasurer is Trustee Hare, and trustees McBride. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Seconded.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Ahart,
Approved.
Trustee Hare,
Approved.
Trustee Polk,
Approved.
Trustee Knox,
Approved.
and Trustee McBride approved.
Motion
We have a
passes.
slate of officers.
The next item is the Chair's Committee assignments.
Isn't it?
Nobody ever called me about it.
Okay.
Do we have a list of?
I don't even have the list of
The committee
They have it
assignments.
perfectly. Okay, I got it.
We got,
I got it. Can I get a motion to proceed with the following board committee chairs, barring any movement, as presented? Program Development, Trustee Knox, ADA, Trustee Sterling Polk, Tri-County Planning, Trustee Knox, Conflict Resolution, Chair Ahart, and Vice Chair Trustee Polk. Bylaws, Trustee McBride. Stuff of Us, Trustee McBride. Sponsorship, Chair Ahart, and Finance, Chair Ahart, and Secretary Hare. Hearing those, can I get a motion to approve those as presented?
So moved.
Second? All right, that was a complete mess. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Ahart,
Approved.
Trustee Hare,
Approved.
Trustee Polk,
approved.
Trustee Knox,
Approved.
Trustee McBride approved. We have a
See if we can get better as we go on.
Yeah, sure.
Next item is a reading and receipt of minutes, regular meeting of April 10th and the executive session meetings on December 12th, 2022 and April 13th, 2023. Any questions regarding the regular meeting, the regular minutes, or the executive sessions as presented? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Or
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the regular meetings and the executive session minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the ayes have it, motion passed. Reading receipt of communications, General Manager.
We had one this month. I emailed it to all the board. I'm still working with operations on a response. Once we get that, I'll send that to everybody and it'll all be included in next month's board package.
Thank you. Report of officers and trustees. Anybody have anything? Anyone?
Just briefly, ADA, we're working for our WOW event. It'll be our 2nd annual. It will be on July 26th, same place, but I think we're starting it at 4:30 instead of 5. So we want all of you to come. It was great last year. We just want it to be better this year.
Where
Thank
will
you.
this be?
At the Civic Center.
Okay, I do have something
Exhibit
to
Hall
talk
C.
about. Once we get into the Civic Center, there's a tremendous amount of walking. Those of us that have difficulty getting around. Yeah, just wanted to point that out.
I know. But we'll talk and I'll tell you how you can get in there the least bit of walking. Okay.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, report of the General Manager. July 26th.
Just a few, I'll just have a couple things tonight. A reminder that the registration for the annual expo is open and Desiree will be after you next week after she returns on who's going. The hotels usually fill up fast, so she'll want to know that as soon as possible, and then she'll work from there as far as registration and then flights. Couple of things. We had a FDA administrator, Fernandez was in town at Bradley receiving an award and giving a talk, and that was really quite a highlight for our group, being able to meet her and talk to her. Thanks to Sharon, she lived with her when she was at Bradley, and so it was really nice, and she gave a couple shout outs to us in the transit district, so that was kind of fun. Another thing, we've been working with the city of Peoria on a charging stations around the community. There's a big grant out right now. It's a community grant for chargers in the community as well as corridor along 74. And it's geared towards some smaller vehicles, but a lot of it's towards the bigger vehicles too. So heavy and medium duty vehicles, and finding a place for them to charge. They've also brought in West Peoria and the Heights to get some suggestions and ideas as well. So I think that grant's due at the end of the month, May. Dewberry's kind of the lead as far as putting the grant together, but Jamie and myself are on the committee, so we've been helping them since we're kind of have a little experience on those kinds of grants. Other than that, the Choose Greater Peoria is the latest, I hate to say thing, but it's kind of a merger of some of the groups, the CEO Council and some of the bigger development groups. And it's kind of it's got a lot of support and money behind it, and you'll see it at various places this summer. It was a part of their launch event, and looks like it'll be a good thing once it gets rolling, but it's basically trying to recruit and keep people in Peoria and bring them in for the higher paying jobs. So I guess that's about all I got. Was questions?
I was impressed with all the new people that took advantage of going to the museum.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty successful when we end up 37 people. They use a bus pass and get free admission to the museum. So we're gonna try that again in the fall and
December, we're gonna do it again with the museum, and then, August is with the Peoria Zoo, and then October is with the Caterpillar Visitor Center. So we have a couple more things coming down the road this year.
we did have a reach out from the Illinois Hospital, the college, and they're trying to have us figure out ways to get their people from the apartment complexes downtown. A lot of them don't have cars, don't want to drive, so we're trying to work with them on that too. So,
All right. Thank you, sir. Next is the new facility update. Beth.
Okay, so we have any bench backfilling the bioretention basin with rock. ICCI is forming the pavement curb and gutter east admin and garage. And then right way installing metal strip framing and sheathing at admin third floor. Western loading admin roof for installation. That work has already started this week and part of last week. Bedrock, they're painting the garage ceiling and the precast panels at the garage interior. A&J Electric installing conduit at mezzanine and first floor. Tipco's installing ductwork at admin second floor. And then Tobin is installing overflow piping in the garage. River City Construction, we're installing window blocking at the admin, installing door frames at the admin first floor, and then general clean just across the board everywhere, which has been expensive lately. So the biggest thing I know, I was requested last month, I wasn't here, but it was relayed to me to do some budget update graphs. So hopefully this is what you want, but if it's not, please let me know and I'll edit accordingly. But obviously no adjustments to the GMP. The overall phases, so we're 44.02% complete. And then balance to finish, and this includes the retainage on the graph on the amount there. And then total gross bill to date is the 19.1 million, and then payout 24 will be submitted at the end of this month. This one is the percent complete by sub. So I put their contract amounts on there, but that is including any recent like change orders throughout the time frame. So every month that'll increase or decrease if there's an add or a deduct to their original contract amount, and then it shows their percent complete. So the highest right now, obviously, is the precast panels, and they were here washing, and they just have some final things that they have to do. So they wash the panels, they have some caulking, and then they'll bill out the 100%. And that goes by each sub that's on. And then the overall schedule. So phase B, the admin and maintenance, the final completion date is February 1st of 2024. But please note that everyone will be moved in by the fall of this. It'll be farther than Halloween, so it'll most likely be like November, and then we cannot do final completion until the elevator is fully up and operational. So that is what gets us till the 2024 date. They have to install flooring, and they have to do all of the fire safety for that. So that is the only reason that date is out to 2024. As far as phase C, that's the south building renovation. So that completion is October 15th of 2024. And the reason that was extended was due to the fact that we can't get anybody in the admin until we get them into the dispatch and maintenance to start that work. So we have to move those two areas, and then we can start the demo and working around the south building renovation. So, and then as far as the phase D and the annex, this is completion of December 30th of 2024, and this is also part of the elevator that loops back into the maintenance on the south end. And then all final connections in the metal building will be installed, and then we are pushing to be done October, November of 2024, but as per the amendment, it extends us to December, and then any funds unused will go back to you guys. Anybody have? Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just, on the elevators, are we moving in and the elevators aren't gonna be working yet? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So
Aren't people on the third floor?
Yes, they will have to use the stairs, yes.
Okay. All right.
It's been an avid conversation with
Okay.
the team on what's gonna be available and whatnot. And when the elevator comes for the admin, it will not show up until around November and then start installation. And we will have to block off the stairs and it'll be partial usage for stairs going up and down. So it will be an inconvenience, but it's been, like I said, talked about heavily. So if something needs to be adjusted, we will. Any other questions?
So if you go back about 3 slides, I think you had like a 44% completion. So I was one of the ones that asked for some additional metrics or something on a dashboard as we go forward.
Sure.
But that doesn't really tell us if we're on time. You know, it tells us what percentage is complete, but is that bringing us in on the timelines? And then if you go forward a couple of slides back to the one, you've got the one more. So now we've got the ones where our, final completion date. It would be helpful if by each phase, you could give us, what's the percentage by phase and are we on time for that phase?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
I mean, we're on time to the approved extended schedule. But I can,
Yeah.
we're not gonna exceed that right now. We're actually hopeful to get done by October, November 2024. But I can definitely divide it up and give you percent.
And that just kind of gives us a better idea where we're at, because we don't really, this is good information, but it doesn't really zero us in on, do we need to be worried about anything, or are there other items that need to be, adjusted or corrected to make the dates by each phase, or any other change orders that we'd have to approve or reject or something to make it there. So that's why I asked those questions.
Okay, absolutely. I will update that next week.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? I think we're good. Thanks,
All
Brad.
right, we have 2 videos.
Oh,
If anyone wants to schedule a tour, please, now that we have the stairs and everything safe, love to have you guys out to walk through and see.
All right. Nice.
Is there a certain day of the week or time of day that works better for you?
We're always on site, well, I'm always here Tuesdays and Thursdays for sure.
Or you can do
That
before the
or-
board meeting?
I will make, if you guys call, I will make an exception anytime.
We don't have one from the outside. We had to disconnect our time-lapse camera due to this building having its roof replaced, which it is complete, pretty much just in time for all that rain. So that project's done.
Or if you wanted to do it early next board meeting.
So that's what I was thinking. Maybe we could, if those who want to do it, what time?
You tell, I'll be available anytime. Tell me what works.
Want to be like 4:30, give us an hour, we go out there and look around.
Okay, let's do that.
Well, for whoever wants to be here, be next board meeting,
I could send a calendar reminder to everybody tomorrow.
yes, that's fine.
You get here before.
Good idea.
Safe now. So.
Okay, next, report of Transdev General Manager, Angel.
Okay, there we go. I apologize for the delay in getting your board information to you. We've been incredibly short-staffed, and all of us have been dispatching and or driving. So honestly, I just completed this today, so I deeply apologize. Really, our on-time performance has dipped, again, because of the staffing. We recently lost a few people, some due to qualification purposes, and some for other purposes. So we had a class of 2. Unfortunately, one is going to be a utility worker. The other one was hired as a driver. However, he decided he wanted to go into utility, but we did convince him to continue with his driver training so that he had some other options should he ever want any overtime and should we need that extra ability. Obviously, we're always actively hiring. Unfortunately, I do have 4 people on leave of absence. One, though, I want to say, we have a new TransDev CityLink CityLook baby, so we're really excited about that. She's 3 weeks old and perfect, so we're hoping that driver will be back to us here in a few weeks. Other than that, everything else is in there. Just some quick little statistics I thought I'd share with you. The report that you guys receive isn't the full report that I submit to CityLink every month, so I just want to give you a couple numbers. You only receive a portion of that report, but our revenue hours, from year over year, they did decrease. And I think I might have made a mathematical error there, but it decreased by about 12.5% year over year for revenue hours on the city lift side. Our ridership on the county side did decrease by about 7.3%, and our ridership on the city side did decrease by 8.38%. However, our phone calls, they still stayed the same and even got a little bit higher. Although we do have a lot more people using the app, we've been really pushing that as much as we possibly can. Carla has been great about when she takes their applications to ask for an email address, so that way when they ask, our dispatchers have been actively asking if people, especially caretakers, I mean, that seems to be actually the highest usage of the app is the caretakers, so they can keep track of their family members and know exactly where they are. So that's been really, really helpful. And as Ms. Pope pointed out earlier, we have a very high number of no-shows. A no-show is extremely detrimental to our service. Last month, I believe it was 895. So when a driver goes to provide a trip when they're already running late and that person is not there or they, they're in the hospital and the family didn't call and tell us that they're in the hospital or what have you, that's time that's wasted that we could have been, made up to pick up another rider. I know you all know how that all works. Outside of that, I've been looking at other ways of improving our software. It's probably not the proper time to talk about this, but it's an extraordinarily frustrating software. It's not very user-friendly, and that takes up one of the reasons why it takes sometimes a long time to get the reports done, because there's a lot of work that has to be done in the archive to fix data. If a driver, for lack of a better term, fat fingers the mileage, they say they drove about 1 million miles that day. I have to go in and update the odometers and make sure that the mileages are correct. Sometimes the system, we know that this, Route 18 is going to pick up this person, but the system won't let us put it on Route 18. So I have to go back the next day and manually put it in to Route 18 because we know he picked him up. He was right there. But the system doesn't think that we can do it. Well, he obviously can. So it's very frustrating. I've been talking to Doug a lot about that. He's probably really annoyed with me as much as I've talked about it. And Jamie's probably annoyed with me too. The software will be 3 years old in December. So I just putting that out there in case it comes up sometime. It would be really great to have something more usable. Yes, ma'am.
Is there no technical support that can come and work to make it better or more manageable, or no?
Yes and no. Transdev uses Equalane in many locations. The best type of service for this type of software is Medicaid, because those trips go out to different taxis all over the, sorry, didn't snap at you. They go out to different providers all over the place. But in a service like Peoria, we are a small medium service. We have a lot of group homes in Peoria. There's a very high percentage of group homes, and something like that, it may not be the best choice for our location. There's other options out there. This software is, how do I say, it's economical, but sometimes economical isn't always the right thing for our community. Previous softwares that we've used, the night before, you see something that pick up at CWTC, drop off at home, go back to CWTC, drop, go back to CWTC. The night before, we would move all that up, get everyone picked up at the same time. But with this particular service, we can't do that till about an hour to an hour and a half ahead of the time. So if you ever want to come and hang out in our dispatch office, we welcome you. You'll hear the driver or listen to the radio. Jason can hear the radio, our radios. He's heard some of the stuff that goes on. They're asking, can you move this trip? Can you put this on top? Can you put this on top? And we're so busy in the dispatch office, especially being so short-staffed, that it does take a lot of time. The drivers are very frustrated. I'm very frustrated. And if you ever have an opportunity to talk to any of our drivers, I'm sure they would love to tell you about it. Jason and I have talked at length about this for the years. He could probably give you a lot of good information about it as well. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, sir. But if that ever comes across your table in the future, I know we're not at our end of useful life yet, but there are some other options available that Doug and I have talked about. So, yes,
Last question. Are we responsible for the Equalane?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Transdev is not.
No.
We provide help.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we're the provider of that. Okay.
Yeah. There's some other options that we've used in other locations, and actually CityLink has used it before. Years and years ago, there was another software, I won't mention its name, but it was not a good fit for Peoria. And CityLink actually leased another software, a very, very good software from the former contractor. And that worked really well. And I've been talking with Doug a little bit about that. Hope he doesn't get mad at me. We've been talking about some of those options. I'm just putting that out there, probably maybe a little inappropriate at this juncture, but it is a very frustrating process. And I just wanted to let you know that that's why your report is late, because it took a lot of manipulating, not a lot of corrections that I had to make to the month end in order to make these come out accurately. Yes, sir.
So the software that you use is not the same as what Sealing uses.
Oh, no, not at all.
And
Sir.
is that because it's the Sealing dispatch software is more robust, or it needs to be more robust? Or is there a reason why you wouldn't use for leverage of efficiencies and everything else, why you wouldn't use the same one?
Yes, paratransit and fixed route are so different. With paratransit, we're going door to door, we're going to people's homes. We're not, with all respect to Mr. Body in the back, we're not going in a circle, being able to schedule that way. Paratransit software and fixed route software are generally very, very different.
Maybe I should have asked that a little bit different then. Are you not even using the same provider? Obviously, you might have a different application because of what you just explained.
Completely different.
So it's to provide them. There's not a provider that offers multiple ones and then if we had like a IT service contract or something to help you out,
I'm not sure. I mean, Ken could probably answer that better. I'm not sure if Avail has a paratransit software. Jason, no, they don't. I know there are some companies out there that do offer fixed route and paratransit. Even Equalane, I believe, offers some of it, but because of the technical parts of it, they don't really talk to each other. There's some ways that and I don't want to name drop anything, so in case of any, I don't want to get Jamie to give me that look. But there are some softwares out there that do offer some options, but how the way that the contracts work, Avail versus Equalane and the timing and how all that goes back and forth. Most transit agencies don't use one software for both services because paratransit is so customized versus the fixed route.
So is there an opportunity then, you're saying it would be in December timeframe, or an opportunity obviously you've studied the other options and the option for us to look at something different that is better for efficiency and speed. Again, like you said, there's always a trade-off between what you're going to pay, money on the front end, so it may look cheap on the front end, but the total cost of ownership ends up being more because of the time it spends for you to do that. So
yeah, and the customer experience as well as driver satisfaction, dispatch time that's taken when you're having to make the constant changes. I believe, and Jamie can totally correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's a minimum of 3 years.
It's a 3-year contract. It was competitively bid out. We evaluated and we selected Equalane. And then it's a 3-year contract with 2 option years. But with this particular contract, they put in there that they would honor the reoccurring rate indefinitely. So there would be no increased charges if we did pass the 5-year.
And I'll be very honest with you. I have a lot of experience with different softwares in paratransit. The original one that we use at City Lift was bought out by a particular company that is the Cadillac, if you will, of paratransit software. They use it up at Pace in Chicago. They use it at a lot of the bigger properties. The one that was purchased after that was the one that I was not here for, but the previous management was not happy with the reporting functions. It didn't provide all the right information, which is why they had MB lease software to them that they have experience with, which is what I'm hoping might possibly happen. And then the one that we had right before Equalane, it was similar to the other one, but it was very easy to, the reporting functions on it weren't that great. I wasn't happy with the way they reported, and I don't think the management at the time at CityLink was very happy with the way it reported, which is why the bid was put out for Equalane. Equalane's not a terrible program. I mean, it does the job, but the job could be done a lot better to make it more efficient for the passengers and for the employees. And I should probably stop talking.
No, this is stuff we need to know.
You need to tell us, yeah.
So the current contract year ends in December?
I believe so.
And is
It's a 3-year with option years. You don't have to renew your option years.
What's the penalty of maybe early?
I would have to look, it's probably not significant, but again, we would have to, find the funding source because there's a startup fee. There's always with softwares, there's an initial implementation startup fee, which is substantial. The renewal years, and the software fees are, a little, I can't even remember what the cost is, but, we would have to find some kind of a funding and budget for it. So it'll be something that Doug will work on probably next year's budget if it's something that we need to renew. But I think this one, when we implemented it, it was about $160K just for the startup fees. EcoLane, we are required to, when we evaluate price as a factor, it has to be a significant factor at least 20%. And so they were one of the lower costs, but they also scored well on the technical aspect at the time. They thought it was a good software.
And I will admit, I was on the committee.
She liked it.
Well, salesmen are really, really convincing sometimes. So full disclosure, I was on the committee. We were promised it would do some things that it's not doing, basically. And we were not told some things that it did not do. The technical support team over there, they're short-staffed too. I'm in touch with them often. They do offer some training tools. They can come out to the site for $10,000 for a week. They have all kinds of stuff. There's a lot of add-on costs. But I think I better start talking about the software right now because
No, we're asking questions, it's okay.
The point is, we're doing the best we can with the resources that we have. I'm really proud of my team for what they've been doing. EcoLane has come out with an upgrade. It's a different platform. They have a legacy platform. They have an evolution platform. So we're in the process now of transitioning all of our staff to the new platform. There's some features that are pretty cool. There's some features that are taking some getting used to. But my assistant general manager, who I know you know well, Mr. Knox, but he's kind of taken the lead on that. He's my IT professional. So I really, if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure how fast we would be moving forward. So we are moving forward. We're trying to get through everything, and we will continue to provide the best service that we possibly can. Our biggest concern right now is not really, it is software, but it's also recruitment. We're having a really hard time with, we have a lot of applicants, but not a lot of them are passing the qualification process. And that's the biggest challenge. And I think Mr. Vadi would agree that he's having the same problem. There's certain qualifications under the Department of Transportation that you must pass, and not everyone is able to pass those.
Gotcha.
I have one real quick, and it might be opening another Pandora's box. I don't mean to. The 10,000 no-shows. Is there anything we can do to fix that? I mean, I know it's year to date. I get that.
Oh, okay.
But I know it's 892. It still seems like so many wasted man hours.
It is.
Hours.
It's a lot.
Does it go hand in hand with the software? Is there something we can do to fix that? Is there a way to? I'm going to say the word, but is there a way to charge them for not making you guys aware of?
Yes and no. We've actually talked about this a little bit. Across the country, I used to work in Denver at the RTD, and we had the same problem. And one of my jobs there was to monitor the no-shows. We generate letters, within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, how many no-shows have you had? If it was a certain percentage of your trips, it would, as Jason was saying earlier, it's sometimes you almost need a full-time person just to manage that. Because everyone has a reason for the no-show. Oh, please don't suspend my service. I was in the hospital. Or, oh, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot my daughter was picking me up. Or you were late, so I left. There's a million different reasons why someone no-shows. And we had an extensive no-show policy in our last handbook. We got rid of a lot of that when Shamra and I had been talking because it's very hard to manage. I've talked to some of my colleagues across the country, both at TransDev, MV, PACE. PACE is probably one of the ones that monitors it the best, but even sometimes you just give up. Honestly, The best thing that we do is when they do call to cancel, we thank them so much for letting us know. We really appreciate you letting us know, so we didn't go, to there, which now we're able to go somewhere else. We're trying to use that. But to send the letters out and to do the suspensions and monitor the suspensions and when are they eligible to ride again, and it's a very complex process, unfortunately. And I don't think most people, in my experience, most people aren't no-showing just to say, I just don't care. They usually have some pretty legitimate reasons. And sometimes they're in the hospital and their families didn't know to call. So we'll go to, I can write today, for example, we went to go pick up somebody and it was a no-show. And I called the emergency contact and they're like, oh, the nursing home was supposed to call and let you know that he's moved to another nursing home and he's not going to need your services anymore. He moved to Horton. So sometimes it's misunderstanding.
Sure.
Yeah, it can be very frustrating. There are people who deliberately, well, you were late for me yesterday, so I don't care. So, yes, we're working on it, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions for Angel? No? Thank you. Okay, next item, public comments.
There are none.
Okay, thank you. Old business? Hearing none, and new business. First agenda is the hiring of the general manager and assistant general manager. All the trustees have the letters that went out to both colleagues. Any questions? I know we all had quite a bit of dialogue on this. I believe everyone's as happy as they're going to get. So, see, even when I watch this. So, hearing that, can I get a motion do we need to do these separately? Can we do them together?
You can do it together.
Okay.
It's fine.
Can I get a motion to approve general manager and assistant general manager letters as presented to the board?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
And roll call vote, please.
Trustee Ahart,
Approve.
trustee Hare,
Approve.
trustee Polk,
Approved.
trustee Knox,
Approved.
trustee McBride, approved.
Motion passed. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you
Have
very
to
much.
kick you out right now.
All right, next topic, ordinance 23-03, public transportation applicant ordinance to provide public transportation to Greater Peoria Mass Transit District.
Okay, now that I am general manager and First Transit's out of it, we can clean up some of those problems over there. I've got some ideas, so anyway, we might even discuss them later in the meeting. I tried to figure out a way to condense these, couldn't figure out anything, so you're gonna have to listen to me read a little bit, so. First one is ordinance number 2303, public transportation applicant ordinance, an ordinance to provide public transportation in Greater Peoria Mass Transit District in Illinois. Whereas public transportation is an essential public purpose for which public funds may be expended under Article 13, Section 7 of the Illinois Constitution, and whereas the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District wishes to provide public transportation for its citizens and become eligible for grants from the state of Illinois or any department or agency thereof, from any unit of local government, from the federal government or any department or agency thereof. And whereas Illinois compiled statute 740/2-1, that's quite, authorizes a mass transit district to provide for public transportation within the district limits. Now therefore it be ordained by the general manager and the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District that Section 1, Greater Peoria Mass Transit District shall hereby provide public transportation within the district limits. The clerk secretary to be The governing board of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District shall file a certified copy of this ordinance within 60 days after passage of this ordinance. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and approval as required by law. That the general manager of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, is hereby authorized and directed to execute and file on behalf of Greater Peoria Mass Transit District a grant application to the Illinois Department of Transportation. That the general manager of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, is hereby authorized and directed to execute and file on behalf of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District all required grant agreements with the Illinois Department of Transportation passed by the general manager of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District on the 8th day of May 2023 and deposited and filed in the office of the clerk secretary on that date.
Could you repeat that?
Next year, I will.
All right, any questions on that? Any comments on that? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve ordinance 2303?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of approving ordinance 2303, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Might as well just stay up there for a little while. Resolution 23-32, acceptance of a special warranty.
Here we have a resolution for acceptance of the special warranty, whereas section 5311 of the Federal Transit Act of 1964 as amended makes funds available to help offset certain operating deficits of a system providing public transit service in non-urbanized areas. And whereas 49 USC 5330B requires that fair and equitable arrangements must be made to protect the interests of employees affected by such assistance as a condition of receipt of funds under section 5311. And whereas a simplified process for assuring employee protections that accommodate the needs of participants in the section 5311 program has been agreed upon by the U.S. Department of Labor and the U.S. Department of Transportation by allowing execution of special section 5333B warranty for section 5311 projects special warranty, which the Secretary of Labor certified on May 31st, 1979. Therefore, be it resolved by the governing board of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, Section 1, that an application be made in the Office of Intermodal Products Implementation, Department of Transportation, State of Illinois, for a financial assistance grant under Section 5311 of the Federal Transit Act of 1964 as amended. Section 2, as a condition of the receipt of Section 5311 funds, the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District hereby agrees in writing to the terms and conditions of the special warranty attached regarding fair and equitable arrangements to protect the interests of employees affected by such assistance. Passed by the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District Board of Trustees on the 8th day of May 2023.
Questions?
I don't have a clue what this is saying that you just read.
Good
Um,
to see.
Just give me a
Want me to
clue,
explain a little bit?
would you?
Okay. This is the equivalent of what's known in the industry as section 13C. When transit districts started going under in the early 1970s, the federal government came in and started providing financing. Part of that deal was, because traditionally they had not done that, there was a concern to protect the unionized employees. So there were what were called 13C agreements, which all transit districts that receive federal funding and as a condition of receiving federal funding had to enter into, and there was a gigantic
negotiation that took place and national 13C agreements were developed. Now, that covers our general employees. Because we're using federal funds or we're receiving federal funds, and we have contractors or other people, in this case, we had, MP, and now we've got TransDev, we've got other contractors. Those employees, because for those contractors, have certain protections that were required under federal law. This time as a special warranty because they're not our employees. We don't have complete control over them, but we do make certain representations in receiving those funds in order to be able to get those funds. So this is a special warranty that we will not allow the project, have the project result in their loss of, or other federal projects have a loss of employment for some of those employees. So it's a special labor protection.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve 2332?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of approving 2332, say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Hearing none, the ayes have it. 2332 passed. Next item, resolution 2333, authorizing execution amendment of section 5311.
Whereas the provision of public transit service is essential to the transportation of persons in the non-urbanized area, and whereas 49 U.S.C. 5311 makes funds available to the state of Illinois to offset certain operating deficits and administrative expenses of a system providing public transit service in the non-urbanized areas, and whereas the state of Illinois, acting by and through the Illinois Department of Transportation, is authorized by 30 ILCS 740/3-1 to provide the section 5311 grant, and whereas grants for said funds will impose certain obligations upon the recipient, including the provisions of the local share of funds necessary to cover costs not covered by funds provided under section 5311. Now therefore may it be resolved by the governing board of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit, Section 1, that an application be made to the Office of Intermodal Project Implementation, Department of Transportation, State of Illinois, for financial assistance grant under Section 5311 for fiscal year 2024 for the purpose of offsetting a portion of the public transportation program operating deficits of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District. Section 2, that while participating in said operating assistance program, the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District will provide all required local matching funds. Section 3, that the general manager of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, is hereby authorized and directed to execute and file on behalf of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District such application. Section 4, that the general manager of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, Greater Peoria Mass Transit District is authorized to furnish such additional information as may be required by the Office of Intermodal Project Implementation and the Federal Transit Administration in connection with the aforesaid application for said grant. Section 5, that the general manager of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, is hereby authorized and directed to execute and file on behalf of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District a Section 5311 grant agreement with the Illinois Department of Transportation and amend such agreement if necessary in order to obtain grant assistance under the provisions of Section 5311 for fiscal year 2024. Section 6, that the general manager of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, Greater Peoria Mass Transit District, is hereby authorized to provide such information and to file such documents as may be required to perform the agreement and to receive the grant for fiscal year 2024. Adopted by the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District the 8th day of May 2023. Sorry, I didn't look up.
Questions, comments?
I'm sorry, what is this really telling us that we're gonna do? Is it saying that you can apply for grants from the 5311? Does this have something to do with our paratransit? Just break it down for me just a little bit.
I think our set amount is like 187, 187. That's what they give us for 5311 grant funding each year.
Okay, and what do we use that 5311 funding for?
Typically paying for
Paratransit.
transit contract.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you. Can we get more?
We've been at that locked in number for, I don't know how many years now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just check.
it's an apportionment of our population,
Okay, all right.
that kind of thing.
All right, hearing no more questions, need a motion to approve resolution 2333.
So moved.
Second. All in favor of approving resolution 2333, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Nay. Hearing none, motion passed. Next resolution, 2334, HR manager temporary staffing with Premier Staffing to extend time for 90 days, the amount not to exceed $45,000. Sir.
Yeah, and this 45,000 would be total contract to date. So it's not an additional 45,000. It'll be a total not to exceed, and we've already had her for 3 months. Yeah, so this is basically for another 3 months.
Any questions on this? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
Right, and roll call vote for resolution 2334, please.
trustee Ahart,
Approve.
trustee Hare,
Approve.
trustee Polk, approved, trustee Knox,
Approve.
trustee McBride, approved.
Motion passed. Next resolution, 2335, authorization signature authority with the Busey Bank and PNC Bank for any transaction over $25,000.
Yeah, this one, we do this annually. And since we've had some changes in the finance department. So the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees authorize Jeff Hare, Treasurer, Doug Ross, General Manager, Nick Stander for Assistant General Manager, and Martha Hobarger, Finance Manager, as agents of the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District in regards to signature authority with Busey Bank and PNC Bank for all banking transactions. It is further recommended that any banking transactions exceeding 25,000 shall require 2 signatures.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Great.
Roll call vote, please, for resolution 2335.
Trustee Ahart,
Approve.
trustee Hare,
Approve.
trustee Polk, approved, trustee Knox,
Approve.
trustee McBride, approved.
Motion passed. Next resolution, 2336, authorization to grant the city of Peoria and IDOT a temporary easement around the transit center. Sir.
So Hanson Incorporated, who is representing IDOT in the city of Peoria, approached the district recently to inform us that they'll be doing some engineering and planning work for IDOT in the city in Peoria to turn large amounts of Jefferson and Adams into one-way streets. So in order to do this, many of the crosswalks and traffic lights down there would need to be updated to, make two-way streets, or one-way, or two-way, I'm sorry. Sorry, so anyway, this affects the intersections around the transit center. So they need to do easement work on and or around the intersections, as well as the sidewalks on our transit center property. So that would be like the landings coming off Hump and Harrison would need to be updated for ADA accessibility, which is actually pretty good timing because those, as we went and looked at them, they met Hanson, they're in pretty bad shape. So they're going to get updated for a certain little area coming off the streets. This work would have minor impact on our services and logistics regarding entering and exiting the transit center. The easement would be granted up for 3 years, and this project would begin sometime this summer. Hanson does not think it's gonna take 3 years, that's just giving them enough buffer just in case something were to happen. So it is recommended that the board authorize the general manager to grant a temporary easement to the city of Peoria for the work being done around and on our property at the transit center.
Any question or result regarding this resolution? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor of resolution 2336, say aye.
Aye.
Negative or nays? Hearing none. Resolution 2336 passed. Next, resolution 2337, contract award recommendation for the renewal of employee major medical insurance from July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, with rates included on the staff summary. Mr. General Manager.
To my left is Rick Simonis, Mid Insurance Group. He's a contractor that helps us with our Blue Cross Blue Shield contract every year. Done a fantastic job. We did see a 10.2% increase, which I didn't think was too bad. So I'll leave all the heavy questions to him if you have any.
Do you have any questions for either one of them? No? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve resolution 2337 as presented?
So moved.
And a second? Anyone? Anyone? A second? Anyone at all? Okay. All right. Roll call vote on the resolution 2337, please.
Trustee
Approve.
Trustee Hare.
Approved.
Trustee Paul. Approved. Trustee Knox.
Approved.
Trustee McBride. Approved. Motion.
Motion. Resolution 2338, authorization to grant the general manager to purchase 10 new diesel buses from Washington State contract in the amount not to exceed $7,103,110. Sir.
The state of Washington has a procurement open for diesel buses. The district's plan is to refurbish 5 to 10 of its current diesel buses and buy 10 brand new diesel buses to fill the rest of the fleet with electric. But anyway, this procurement would allow us to partner with Gillig, which is already about 95% of our current fleet. So we are familiar with that company. We also plan to partner with them in the future for electric buses. So if given approval, we would get these buses ordered in the coming months once we do some design work with them and go over some other factual stuff with them. So that means we would hope to start seeing brand new buses, diesel buses introduced into our fleet in the next probably 12 to 16 months. We currently, as of today, have about 20 buses that are eligible for replacement according to their useful life. So yeah, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees would authorize the general manager to purchase 10 new diesel buses from the Washington State contract. We've already spec'd them out. That's where we got the price from. They're ready to go. We just need to issue PO.
Questions, comments?
So was there a different resolution for the refurbished buses? Did we approve that one already?
I was just giving you some background of what we're gonna do for our overall line of thinking for replacing the fleet. That resolution will come before you in the coming months, whenever we've chosen a vendor and all that stuff's ready to go. I was just giving you a background of what it is our fleet transition plan is going to look like.
What's the connection of Washington State?
Most states throughout the country, they all do different kinds of procurements for a variety of things. For example, IDOT has procurements out for support vehicles. You can buy machinery, you can buy paratransit stuff. Every state's got something going on. Washington State just had a procurement out, it's a contract that's already been written that we could piggyback off of, and it speeds the process up dramatically because you don't have to do all the back legwork. You can just hop on to something that's already been done. It takes away all the kinks and errors that you normally could potentially see with contracts of this size for diesel buses. So when we saw it, we thought it was a great opportunity to buy reliable buses. But most state agencies have some kind of version of them. They all do it.
Anything else? Hearing nothing, can I get a resolution for 2338, motion approved?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
can I get a roll call vote for resolution 2338, please?
Trustee Ahart,
Approve.
trustee Hare,
Approve.
trustee Polk,
approved.
trustee Knox,
Approved.
trustee McBride, approved.
Motion passed. Next resolution, 2339, appointment of IMRF authorized agent.
With the departure of Christine, we needed somebody to take over the IMRF authorized agent. And since we didn't have a HR director yet, we are going to recommend that this be passed to Martha Howater. We might have a resolution at the next meeting to change it to somebody else, but for the interim anyway. So,
She's okay with this.
Yep.
Here's the question.
All right. Can I get a motion of, oh, sorry, questions about the resolution 2339? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving resolution 2339, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Hearing none. Motion passed, 2339. Next item, discussion on the budget. Mr. General Manager.
It's kind of the first time we've done this, because of the way last year's went. I had her put together the budget. We discussed it with each of you. We actually have time for one more round of discussion about it. We bring it to you in June. So if there's any additions, deletions, questions, concerns, here we go.
Well, you know mine. I just need to make sure, you've already talked about the paratransit fee, and so I do want us to work together as a team to see if we can find some alternative method for reducing that rate. And I understand everything you said to me in the email, but I need for us to try a little harder to find some other way. If we have to go to the county, whatever, but I'd just like to see us work on that still. And then the only other thing that I was really concerned about was how much was actually in the budget for our WOW event and where we really are on the safety glass downtown. Is it not viable because of that information that you had sent us, about we are a low impact, whatever?
Yeah, what I was hoping was that we could get some additional grant funding to help with the cost on that project. That's why we were looking at that. Right now, we have $30,000 allocated to that project. I don't know how deep into the weeds we've gotten on it, if 30 is going to cut it or not, or depending on the type of glass, I guess. So, but we will bring something to you. I think it's in a budget line item that has like $5 million in it. So there's a little wiggle room in that.
And where's my ADA? Wow.
88, wow, I think, I talked to Desiree, she wanted 12,000 in there. So I think we had 10 at one point, so we can make that up to 12 for easy.
Thank you.
Is that enough, 12?
No, okay. No, 12 should be fine, thank you.
Not a problem.
That's the only discussion we want to have on the budget. Any other stuff that wants to be brought up while we have it? If I guess now is the last time. If you have something, then bring it up or we'll hold your peace till next year.
The other thing I do want to look at is
I'm
your
sorry.
scheduling software.
When we went through the budget, there was a line that was crossed off for the CFO. Did you add that back as a direct? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, gone back in and been working with what I could find of her documents and spreadsheets, and so, yeah. Yeah, I put that back in there.
Because otherwise we might be short.
Yeah. You short that position all year. You don't want to listen to me up here talking about finance all year, that's for sure. So we will be looking at some alternatives to the, I've got some ideas, so anyway. If it's done in December. So.
What about the bus shelter final replacements for those? Is that even not an issue for 2024 budget or?
That was put into the budget for next year. So once the budget's approved in the summer, Steve and I, we've been already working on a plan to go out and start replacing those panels. There's probably like 60 of them out there that need work. We've already got to count where they are, which ones need what. So we're talking about doing glass and then some kind of like metal perforated panels around the back and then the side where the driver approaches, so they don't block the people standing inside the shelter, to make them last a little longer, a little bit farther. So we have started looking into that. That's just something we will begin after the budget's officially approved.
The one thing we really haven't discussed, we talked about it in the budget, but we didn't, I don't think we did anything further with it, is going to be the grand opening for the business or for the building out back.
Yep.
And depending on when we do that, it'll be in 24 budget or 25, so.
It would depend when you want to do a open gala type of thing. So if you're wanting to do this sometime like, let's say after Christmas, that's something that we would need to start, probably go out for bid to start looking for somebody to help coordinate it all, or look for sponsors, things like that. We would try to track down an event coordinator or something like that to really help us make it great.
Yeah.
It just depends, like Doug said, when do you want to do this? Do it wait till it's completely done, or do you want to do it after the elevators?
I was just gonna say that, yeah, after the elevator time, yeah.
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 We want to do it around like Thanksgiving, we would do it next year. How deep in 24 you want to go? So whatever guidance you provide is when we plan.
Because I think some of the question was if we wanted to wait until the whole thing was done, or when the admin was open, but we were still working on this. I think some of the concern was if it would go too long, then
It's not fresh.
the maintenance, yeah, especially the maintenance side,
It won't smell new.
the admin side will be okay yet. We'll have a lot of buses in and out by then, so.
Can we start just maybe early spring, like March-ish,
I mean, it's kind of what we, Emily and I were talking about a couple weeks ago was if we did it next spring sometime, in early spring, late spring, that's probably the best time to do it. And that's something we would definitely talked about, exactly when it's safe to do it.
Yeah.
So we might have to put some extra money in the budget for that.
We've got 4 springs this year.
All right.
Follow up on the shelter question, and this may be part of, further discussion plan. But we also, I think one of the other things we talked about was back to whether there's an opportunity to sell advertising or something on those shelters to get some funding. So I don't know whether that's been added into the project plan for that or not.
Good thing. That's something we would need to talk about again and see if they're interested or able to sell things onto the shelters
In the city.
in the city.
You're at,
In the city, yes.
because there's an ordinance posted on those.
We'll circle back around.
And I think the only other question I had again, as budget goes, and you mentioned it before, we're all squared away for the fare box update in the budget plan, right?
We have federal funding for that. I think Martha's actually working on the grant for that. Now, to get that bill allocated, and then once that's approved, this budget year, I think our plan is to do that July or August, start getting it out for bid. Scope's been written, just whenever it all gets approved, it's ready to go.
Good. Good. Any other questions? Hearing none. Final item, financial report, April 2023, board bills approval.
So in April 2023, total monthly operating expense of $2,400,449.32 represented 6.25% of the fiscal year 2023 annual budget. Percentage is 1.87 less than what we projected. And we had 800,000 in capital expenditure for the facility.
Okay, questions, comments? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the financial report for April 2023?
So moved.
Second, Jeff. And roll call vote, please.
Trustee Ahart,
Approve.
trustee Hare,
Approve.
trustee Polk,
Approved.
trustee Knox,
Approve.
trustee McBride. All approved.
Motion passed. Next meeting in June 12th, 2023. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
You got it.
Second.
We stand adjourned.